It is said that in the year of the snake, one must be particularly cautious of gossip and disputes. Some words once spoken can accidentally come true, and today Chie is going to talk about a horror movie that many young people accidentally revealed their own weaknesses, ultimately leading to dozens of lives becoming homeless souls. The story begins with Lum renting an entire guest house to celebrate his girlfriend Bianca's birthday. The two also invited their mutual friends, planning to spend a pleasant weekend there. The landlady warmly welcomed them and even offered to take a group photo just because the villa is haunted. Tradition. Every guest who stays must leave a commemorative photo. It's said that this way, they will never leave. Believe. Although the landlady's words had a deeper meaning, the group, immersed in joy, didn't pay much attention and immediately took a group photo. Then the landlady gave them a bottle of homemade red wine. That night, when everyone was sitting around the campfire drinking and chatting, Ross shared a story with them about this strawberry cottage. More than 100 years ago, a group of miners, in order to a group of gold miners came here. After obtaining gold, they began plundering the surrounding villages and even forcibly took women at night. The women villagers, unable to bear the humiliation, formed a witch organization to control the town. It is said that they could confuse the miners' minds, causing hallucinations and deep fear. In the end, the miners could only find release through death. At this point, someone suggested that everyone should speak of their greatest fears to find release and not give the witches any chance to take action. Little did they know this action would drag them into an abyss of despair. Abyss. Someone said that after surviving a car accident, they have always viewed the necklace on their chest as a protective talisman. Someone else, who was maliciously arrested by police in their youth, fears being distrusted the most. Mike also revealed that he was often locked in a closet by his brother as a child, so he fears enclosed spaces the most. He probably never imagined that his casual remark would actually... It really came true. When Mike went to the room alone to get the wine, he inexplicably got stuck in the hallway of the guest house, unable to find the exit no matter which direction he moved. Fortunately, the shouts from his friends downstairs helped him find the right way. To not affect everyone's mood, Mike didn't mention a word about what he had just experienced. However, as soon as everyone took a sip of the red wine, they all showed expressions of discomfort, and someone even spat it out on the spot.
Oh my god.
What the hell is in here, man? Damn. What the hell is this stuff?
Obviously, this vintage bottle from 1938 has expired. Some people advised Mike to throw away the wine early and then went to their rooms, but the strange events were just beginning. Ross and Blackie intended to rekindle old memories during this rare weekend, but just as their emotions were running high, a man's voice suddenly came from the gramophone. The noise instantly killed their desire. After Ross turned off the phonograph, the man's voice abruptly stopped. But from what he said, it seemed there had been a murder in this house. To be cautious, Ross decided to look up this place online. The search revealed a startling discovery. 10 years ago, a travel blogger disappeared here. Next, Ross found that this house also seemed to have a mysterious connection to a group of witches pursuing immortality. But before he could look at more content, the internet mysteriously went out as if an invisible force was stopping him from uncovering the truth. Meanwhile, a strong wind started blowing outside, and in the middle of the night, a drop of water fell on Rom's head. Rom opened his eyes and saw the door open. Curiously, he went to the basement and inexplicably pushed open a wooden door, where there was a sacrificial totem and a pile of old photos. On the back was written,
"By feeding these souls of light to the portal, the gatekeeper will be granted immortality to fulfill their infinite bondage to death. Believing what you fear will bring to the victim what they are afraid of. Once the ritual of La Uva, the grape, is completed, the collecting of souls may begin."
As a writer, Room was very interested in this pile of strange photos and witchcraft. As Room focused on deciphering those things, the hallway light started to dim. The box hidden in the basement stirred as well, and in an instant, the whole house seemed like it had opened Pandora's box. Meanwhile, a bug crawled into Beyond's mouth while he was asleep. Soon after, Beyond felt something in his throat. He hurriedly got up, coughed violently, and then pulled a large bunch of hair from his throat. Leon was jolted awake by this terrifying scene, realizing it was just a dream. Still shaken, he decided to get up and drink some water to calm his nerves. But just as he started the kettle, he heard the laughter of a baby from the basement and someone persistently knocking on the door. Gathering his courage, Leon cautiously pushed open the door, only to inexplicably find a crib at the bottom of the stairs.
Okay. Yeah. Left the kettle on. Just making tea.
At this moment, Benny hurried over, urgently and earnestly reminded everyone that it would be best to cross the river together. Come and take a look. At this moment, the news is reporting that a super virus is spreading rampantly. The host advises everyone to close doors and windows and avoid going out. If symptoms of coughing and hallucinations occur, they should be isolated promptly. The super virus is not only highly contagious, but also deadly. Everyone present immediately panicked upon hearing this. Since Luca among them has been coughing non-stop since yesterday, it seems he might be infected. While they were arguing about whether to kick him out for isolation, Dankin's mom... At this moment, Jimmy's mom had already packed her luggage. There was no signal in the villa, and Jimmy couldn't reach the nanny. Worried about the baby's safety, she decided to take a risk for the child. Just as Jimmy left, Leanne started coughing. This immediately made everyone alert. Although Rom clarified that it was just an asthma relapse, everyone involuntarily stepped back 2 steps. Seeing that Bion's condition was a bit dire, Heimei and Selena hurriedly took her back to the room to get the breathing machine. After Bion's condition stabilized, she revealed the factor causing her hallucinations. 3 weeks ago, Bion discovered she was pregnant, but her boyfriend, unreliable, so he is hesitating about keeping the baby. Because of this, Bion has been restless lately. When Selena and Jaime came forward to comfort her, Bion unexpectedly noticed a rash on Selena's skin. Selena quickly went to the mirror to check and kept explaining that it was just an allergy. Then she left the room and walked down the corridor. Selena accidentally saw that an extra figure had appeared on the oil painting in front of her. She thought someone had mischievously added to it. However, just as she was about to wipe it off, the figure inexplicably disappeared, and in her hand,
Otherwise, who knows when
The
it will
stone
be
is covered in
lifted up.
bloodstains.
Such a bizarre experience frightened Selena so much that she hurried back to the room. When Bian and the other person saw her, they were instantly startled by her. In just a few minutes, the rash had already spread to her neck. Even more incredibly, her lucky
My
necklace was
necklace?
gone.
I must have dropped it in here. I just had it. Have you
The
seen it?
necklace is a symbol of Selena's authority, and now its loss has completely unsettled her. Selena furiously stormed out, trying hard to calm herself, unaware that danger was waiting for her in the boundless jungle, getting closer. Meanwhile, on the other side, the boys, fearing infection from Luca's illness, went to the guest house basement to find tape to seal the doors and windows. During this time, they accidentally found a locked room. Although it was filled with clutter, there was a bed to rest on, and this room had no windows or doors. The ventilation duct is an ideal place for isolation. Mike suggested locking Luca in here to prevent him from infecting others. Everyone felt it was a bit cruel, but to save their lives, they tricked Luca into the basement by saying that Rum was seriously injured there. After Luca entered the basement, not only did he not see the injured Rum, but he was also suddenly held by the other 3. Realizing he was deceived, he curiously asked, "What are they doing?" A long weapon suddenly pierced Ross's shoulder, but ultimately he couldn't overpower the other 2. After locking up Luca, the 3 left with the injured Ross without looking back. This action would cost them a heavy price. The price. Meanwhile, completely unaware, Rum is still in the room researching the history of this house. He discovered that once a group of witches, in pursuit of immortality, held some kind of sacrificial ceremony here. After drinking red wine, the witches would use people's fears, cut their lives short. The nurse excitedly told Bian about this discovery, only to be reprimanded by her.
I don't know what is up with you and this freaky, crazy obsession that you have, but you need to listen to me. Listening. No, you're not. I've been trying to tell you something for the last 2 weeks.
Tell me, what could you possibly tell me that I haven't heard in the past 2 weeks?
I'm pregnant.
This news left Lumu both surprised and delighted. For the safety of his girlfriend and child, he planned to take them away from this troubled place. However, just as Lumu came out of the room, he learned that something had happened to Ross. After learning what those people had done, Lumu decided to act separately with Bian. He would go to the basement to rescue Luca, while Bian was in charge of going to the counter to find a landline to call for help. But Lumu was ultimately one step too late. Shortly after being locked in the basement, Luca heard strange sounds coming from the corner.
They don't trust you. They say you're sick.
Luca looked around but couldn't find the source of the sound, yet it got clearer and clearer. Even scarier, an invisible force was controlling his arm, bringing the dagger closer to his own neck. By the time Lum and the others arrived, Luca was already lying in a pool of blood. Seeing this scene, Mike was full of regret, but the true horror was... The horror is just beginning. Benny found a photo album in a box in the basement, and the photos in it looked like they were over 100 years old. At this moment, Benny saw the figure of the landlady in one of the group photos. Meanwhile, Bian, who came to the front desk for help, couldn't make a call no matter how hard he tried. Seeing the wall covered with group photos, he then remembered to check the register of these guests. The last guest to check in was 8 years ago, which is obviously unusual. But before Bian could figure out what was going on, strange noises came from the corridor. As he stepped forward to check, the wall beside him suddenly started shaking violently, and then the paintings began to fall one by one. With a sooty surf...
No, it's okay.
coming.
It's
He's
me.
coming.
We have
He's
to
coming.
go. We
He's
have to get out of
coming.
here,
He's
okay?
coming.
At this point, the group finally realized the seriousness of the situation and they planned to quickly escape this haunted place. But just then, in front of the black girl cleaning bloodstains upstairs, scenes of being bullied as a child suddenly appeared. Upperclassmen. One of the girls from the relay team once forcefully pressed his head into the water, causing him to fear going in water to this day. When he came back to his senses, he was shocked to find that his reflection in the mirror was showing the same evil smile as his bully. The smelly arm was frightened, and it instinctively retreated slowly, but as soon as it got close to the bathtub, it was pulled in by a strange force. Before long, the black girl went completely silent. At this moment, Mike, who came to gather the others, encountered a ghost wall again. Fortunately, this time he overcame his inner fear and successfully found Ross's room. However, as the injuries worsened, Ross also started experiencing hallucinations. Mike looked up at the ceiling, where clearly there was nothing, but in Ross's eyes, there was a black, unidentified mass preparing to attack him. In an instant, Ross was pulled into an illusion. Here, a doctor cut him open with a saw while he was still alive. After struggling a few times, Ross ultimately died tragically on the spot. Soon, that black mass set its sights on Mike, who, desperately wanting to escape the illusion, repeatedly slammed his head and the wall, but accidentally sent himself to a dead end. Unaware of the outside world, Benny was still in the room studying that album, and he inadvertently discovered that one of the photos had "Woo" written on it. Light Tower Tamara 419. But before Benny could figure out the meaning of this phrase, the bedroom door suddenly closed on its own, and strange metallic clanking sounds came from the radio. Benny immediately sensed something was wrong, and he quickly fled the room. Only then did he realize that Heimei and the others had all been killed. At this moment, Serena, who had been staying inside, also came out. After meeting with Bian, Benny shared his discovery from the album. Bian, who was born into a religious family, immediately thought of Tamara as without light in Latin. It means without fear. As for 419, he seems to have seen it in the Bible. By now, Rum finally understood that the sin was a giant trap. The witches lured the miners to the strawberry cabin, then used their fears to drag them into illusions to kill them, with the purpose of offering their souls to Demon, using this to obtain immortality. The landlady they met before is very likely one of the witches. Serena's inner fear reached its peak. Fortunately, Bian had already found a solution on page 419 of the Bible, but just then, it had to be read aloud. A huge mass of black unknown matter squeezed through the crack of the door. Then the furniture in the room also came to life, but for some unknown reason, everything soon returned to normal. Just when everyone thought the crisis was over, the unknown matter suddenly lunged at Benny. Fortunately, they had already grasped the opponent's methods and understood that everything was an illusion. The more they spoke out, the more fear there is, the easier it is for the witches to take advantage. Led by Lum, the four quickly escaped from the room. However, just as they reached the first floor, Serena was forcibly dragged back to the basement by an invisible force. The PD, the one in no called Ponsi. Seeing this, Rum and the other Shaw hurried down to save her, but by then, Serena had already been taken back to the car accident scene from years ago. The immense fear immediately overwhelmed her, and the tormented Serena also at this moment. Illusion cliff jump ended his life. Knowing he couldn't reverse the situation, Lumu ran off with his girlfriend. But as soon as they escaped the basement, Benny, also trapped in the illusion, rushed over. He mistook Lumu for the white policeman who wronged him and stabbed him. After dealing with the policeman in the illusion, Benny intended to release the handcuffs, but under the illusion's temptation, he slashed his own wrist with a dagger. Severely injured, Room knew his time was limited. He could only urge Bian to maintain his consciousness. At this moment, that strange unidentified object also found its way from the basement. Bian did not dare to delay for a second and immediately turned around and ran. This time, he unexpectedly and smoothly escaped to the road, but Room's reminder kept echoing in Bian's mind. He said he was going to find a girl named Mary. The black object instantly dragged Bian into the illusion, revealing that he was still inside the inn. The exposed witch angrily grabbed Bian's neck, wanting him to taste what true despair is. As Bian was on the verge of death, Rum's advice flashed through his mind once more. This instantly reminded him of the text on page 419 of the Bible. After he recited it silently, it indeed had a significant effect. Faith gave him immense courage, and this power successfully saved the woman from the hands of death. As if being pushed. Upon regaining consciousness, Bian immediately rushed out the door, returning to the real world. Everything seemed to return to normal. There was no outbreak outside. It was all just the witch's plot. Alright, this concludes this episode. I am Chie. See you in the next episode.